Bruno, so we're talking about arpeggios there, and we've got three different positions for both major and minor. So it's six different arpeggio shapes. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go with D, major and minor. Okay, so we'll go minor first, then major. Okay, so the first one is the A-shaped one, right? So it's if you imagine an A minor shape, you get rid of this one because we're only dealing with the three top strings and bring it up to where it's whatever you want it to be, in this case, D minor. Now, so these ones start with the first, okay? So it's first, third, fifth, and then we're going up to the top for the eighth as well. But for the purpose of this, we'll just call the eighth the first because it refers to the same note. So, now, you can just kind of do it in just one little swing arpeggio like that, or you can cycle it. Up, down on the G string, as we were saying. Up, down, down, up, down, up. Well, there. Okay, so first, third, fifth, eighth, which is also the first. So the next one, we're going up to the E-shaped one. So this is basically the E minor shape, because if we look here, all open, we take that up to where it's D, and there it is. And we got, so the E-shaped one starts on the third, right? So that's third, fifth, first, back to first, third. Now with this one, if you're going to cycle it, you don't want this. So that's not really an arpeggio. That's more of a chord than arpeggio, right? So you want. So you got to kind of roll this finger back and forward. Okay. So third, first. Third, fifth, first, third. So you've got two thirds in this one. Okay, so that's going to be important later. So then, lastly, we got the D-shaped one. Okay, so that's so. Okay, so we've got. So it's just a D minor shape. Now we happen to be in the key of D minor, so we're just taking our D minor up 12 frets, up the octave. So first, in this case, 13th, 14th, 15th. Okay, and we're coming up here. Now you can do it this way, like you would hold the chord. But I find personally for cycling around it, I find if you just start here and then bring that down there. Okay. Now, so for the majors, all you got to do is if you know where the third is each time, then you just bring them up each time. So if you go back down here, first, third, major. Now, with the A-shaped ones, the both minor and major, there's a fair bit of a reach up here between the first and the eighth, because there's a fourth between these. You've got your fifth, sixth, seventh, then eighth. Unlike between the first and the third, you've just got first, second, third. So there's a bigger gap between the fifth and the first. Well, let's go the fifth and going up to the eighth, right? So that being the case, a seventh can be good as well. So that'll be D7, and then because that's a remember we were saying D7 is D major with a minor seven in it, so that would be D major seven. The major referring to the seventh, not the chord. It's implied that the chord is major. So not exactly an intuitive naming system, but I've already complained about that. So and remember we were saying as well is that which one of those you do will depend on the chords you're playing over. So you don't necessarily want to contradict what chords you're playing over. So that's usually which one you're doing is usually decided for you before you start playing. So that's your A shape one again. So this time it's just A major. We're taking these two and then taking that up here. Next one. So this is the E-shaped one. Now last time we had a third. No, up here. The third, fifth, first, third. So now both of these, this one and this one need to come up. Up. Lastly, got the D-shaped one. So again, we happen to be in the key of D, so we can just take our D major shape, bring it up an octave, up 12 frets. There it is, and we just add the fifth on top. So fifth, first, third. As opposed to minor, major, minor. No, that's diminished. So flatten the fifth. And that's what I was saying as well, is knowing which degree you're on will allow you to modify it in a way that's kind of predictable, right? So for example, if we go back to the minor for a second, you know that that's your fifth, and that is as well. So if you want a diminished chord, which is a minor chord with a flattened fifth, then it's going to be get this one back and get that one back as well. And whatever else you want to do on top of that. Okay, so and keeping in mind that they're all in the same order no matter what key you're in, right? So you've got a bunch of blocks here, right? So there's your A shape, E shape, and D shape, okay? So let's say we move it up to G minor. We start off with our first position, that A-shaped one. Then we come up here for our E-shaped one. And then the D-shaped one. So just think of it as these kind of blocks that you kind of move around the fretboard depending on what key you're in. And that way you've got, for every chord, well, for every major and minor chord anyway, that you could come up against, you've got 3 different positions that you could play the notes of that chord. So it's going to be very coherent and very, to use a redundant term, musical as well. You'll know what I mean when you start playing arpeggios instead of just scales. You'll know what I mean by that. It just, there's something much more natural sounding when you throw in arpeggios instead of just scales. So there's your scale. There's the arpeggio kind of stuff. So you know what I mean. It's a bit more, but obviously both. There's a place for both. So see how we get on with that. Talk to you next time.